You're listening to the AfterBuzz TV Network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Keith. Johnson.
The AfterBuzz Studios in Los Angeles, California. Presented by Maria Menounos and Bing.com and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies. This is AfterBuzz TV's True Blood After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. If you'd like to buzz in on tonight's show, you can buzz us at 424-256-1729. That's 424-256-1729. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AfterBuzz TV's True Blood After Show.
As much as
Oh, there's the real one. Yeah.
This is how it was supposed to sound.
That's how it should sound, my friends.
Thank you very much, Marissa. Awesome, guys.
I know,
Hey.
and we're doing full-on 80s dances over
Oh,
here.
that was awesome.
All right, hey, AfterBuzz TV Nation, what is up? We all know that Bing is for doing, and we are doing another after show on AfterBuzz TV. It is True Blood Season 5, Episode 9, and as the music sounds off, we all know the title. It's
Everybody wants to rule the world.
Yes.
Hashtag, or other title could be Head Down, Tits Up, True Blood Flowing.
Nice. You know, I did keep account of how many butts I saw in this episode. I literally was writing them down.
It was,
So
what was it, like 86?
no, we only had 4.
Oh, that's disappointing.
But they were so sexy that you can count them as 8. Literally. All right, guys. All right, now, if you guys are watching us on AfterBuzzTV.com, chat roll, guys, hello. But if you're not, make sure to tune in on iTunes and just subscribe. Let us know you care. Definitely leave a comment, tell a friend, because we really do pay attention. We'll write back to you guys because we believe in making it interactive. So, with that said, quick impressions. What did you guys think of tonight's episode? Overview, just thoughts.
Roth?
No.
Me?
I
Okay.
want to hear what you have to say, because
honestly,
you had an emphatic reaction to this.
I didn't. I was really frustrated with this episode. I love the show. I love the content. I love the topics. But as a fan of the show, I was really disappointed. Now they've got, you know, well, I mean, we're skipping ahead, but I don't like when the person I'm rooting for all of a sudden turns and starts doing things that I don't understand where they're coming from.
Okay.
In the case of Bill, in this case.
Okay.
And in terms of the show, like I know that we clipped a couple of storylines and finally nailed them shut.
Right.
So we figured out what's happening there. But at the same time, I feel like there's this huge storm just around the corner, and I have no earthquake insurance, no emergency kit, nothing. I'm totally ill-prepared.
I'm sorry, you're right.
My mic just fell between my boobs, so I want you to know I'm not laughing at anything you're saying. Which was
I was totally unprepared for that too. Also unprepared for that.
Articulate. And
Sometimes
very
you need
well
a pair of
said.
pliers. You just got to get in there and grab them.
Sorry, you're right. And he was just, you were so genuine there, but
It's so intense. Meanwhile, starbursts falling everywhere.
No, it was the mic.
if you guys are, hopefully, if you're not listening to us, if you guys are watching us, that's the whole reason to watch our show. The mic is falling into
My boobs.
Into her boobs. Yes. And before, I didn't even do a quick little intro. I'm JC, and joined by my wonderful co-host. Please introduce
How
yourselves.
you doing, everybody? I'm Yerman.
And I am Roth Cornet.
And running the 1s and 2, Miss Marissa. What's up, Marissa? How are you?
Marissa.
Hello, everyone.
Thank you for the intro. That was
We
awesome.
love Marissa.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
What'd you think, Roth?
I hate to disagree. I actually enjoyed it. I have been enjoying this season. Overall, I think it's probably, for me, the strongest since season 1. And I actually I'll tell you why I think the thing with Bill makes sense. And I know we weren't necessarily going to start here. I'm going to throw off your game a little bit because it came up, right?
Do it.
This is why I think it makes sense. If you look at the type of person that Bill has been established, it would not have made sense if it was Eric. That's not in his character at all. He is not that kind of person. Bill is an extreme personality. He is somebody that's always looking for something to sort of feed his life, to give it meaning, to tell him who he is. Previously, it was Sookie, and he was sort of all in on that. Eric has always been like, yeah, I really like you a lot. I definitely like having sex with you. This is cool. Bill is like an all-in kind of person. You know, if you look at his relationship with Lorena, he certainly didn't hesitate to kill a lot of people with her. And then he changed. I can see this person now that he's in this sort of crisis moment in his life where he's not sure what's going on with Sookie. He doesn't really know what the purpose of his life is. That this is affording him an opportunity to believe that there is a reason that has led him to this point. There's a reason he became a vampire. There's a reason all of the pain happened. There's a reason all of the drama happened in his life. Certain people are just far more susceptible to those kinds of experiences, and they happen to be probably people that would be obsessive anyway. You know what I mean? If you look at the personalities involved that are the sanguinistas, they were probably obsessive anyway. All I cared about was my career, says Nora. You know what I mean? And then she just switched her obsession. Bill was obsessed with Sookie. He switched his obsession.
Well, I mean, interesting. I'm not discrediting anything you've said. I mean, we can agree to disagree, that's for sure. I think my reasoning wasn't that I can't see that. I mean, I wasn't expecting Eric to be the one that turns anyways. I wasn't saying that I'd rather it have been Eric than Bill.
No.
I just, for some reason, the way I had seen Bill's character developing, he always made that character, or Bill, that is to say, had always seemed to be the guy that was very smart. And he always kind of saw things in a big picture format, unlike other people. So for him to all of a sudden dive into something, I mean, I get that he's looking for a cause. I get that he's looking for purpose and looking for things to kind of give him meaning. But that was always tempered with a tenacity and an intellect.
Well, tenacity indicates that he's... you know what I mean? He's tenacious. He won't give up. He's a, you know what I mean? Like I really have to disagree.
If he's not giving up, then why is he giving in?
No, he's not giving in. He's switching gears. I mean, that's the thing. I really have to disagree. Bill has always been very erratic. His character has gone through many shifts and changes over the last 5 seasons. And we see it in flashbacks, and then we see it through the course of this present time as it is in the True Blood world. He went from being this guy that's like ready to give up and just sort of hide away in his old mansion, right? To being like in the middle of the politics. Then we look back and he's with Lorena, you know, killing prostitutes with very little sense of remorse, seemingly. And then now he sort of switched to this. And I'm not surprised. I actually think it's not the writers going off the rails. I actually think it's them sticking with what they've been doing with him.
Absolutely agree with you. Absolutely.
I hate both of you now.
No,
it's cool. I can hate more than one person. It's cool.
No, we were just talking about the overall tone. So it seems like that this is what's dominating the episode for us. It was Bill's turn.
Yes.
Possible turn. Which even last week I said that he was going to start doing. He's always been after the power.
Yeah.
In season 3, he did the same thing when he became the king of Mississippi. No. Season 4. When he became king of Mississippi.
Yeah.
He's always kind of had a bit of a power play in
Louisiana.
Did I say Mississippi? Yeah. So we'll get into it in a minute, but let's start with the beginning. Let's start with Sookie. I've got marbles in the mouth. Sookie and Lala.
Sookie and Lala.
Okay, what do you guys think of the Sookie and the Scooby-Doo angle? I feel a lot of these missions are very Scooby-Doo-ish all season. Just like, what's next? Like when Lala was channeling, and Lala's awesome because he's this episode I had so many quotes, especially like he thinks I'm Whoopi Goldberg but just a lot sexier and just let's see I'm trying to find all the quotes.
You know what? Honestly, he was a little bit like Whoopi Goldberg in Ghost in the sense of like Whoopi, and I'll tell you why. Because Whoopi Goldberg in Ghost was hilarious because she would be like, why are you talking to me, Ghost? And I feel like that grounds it, you know what I mean? Because he's not sort of going like, oh, you know what I mean? He's not becoming a high-pitched speaker. I mean, I don't know if you guys know some people in your life that have that are into New Age things, and that's all well and good. A lot of times they'll start speaking in a higher pitch, you know what I mean? They'll be like, I just mean that like life is like all about love, man. And you're like, what's wrong with your voice? I mean, like it is, and what you're saying is true, but you're not sounding human anymore. You're not sounding like yourself. What I like about what Lala is doing and what her character in Ghost did was that she was a very real person. She was flawed, you know what I mean? And she was sort of struggling to figure out what was going on with her and the best way to handle it. He's doing the same thing. And I think he's absolutely right to be like, you know what, I'm going to charge you 100. Why? Everybody's draining him to death. Right. And I have had some ups and downs with his transition into being a supernatural being, but what works is this. him being a medium that's running around and like hearing the ghosts and trying
Telling
to
them all to quiet down and one at a time.
like settle down, you, and being Lala. And there's something very, very believable. Now, San is so talented. It's very believable to me that he is hearing these people talk to him.
Yeah.
So is he over? I mean, there was nothing addressed about Jesus this week.
Right.
So that
I don't think that's dropped. I think that's just something that they're going to kind of come back to. I
Okay.
think right now he's
As
just
a zombie.
Yeah.
Roth and her zombie
And the zombies.
You want it to happen.
You will not
I
let
do.
that go.
I'm not letting go. Two things I'm not letting go, or Molly.
Okay,
Oh,
yeah,
my, okay.
But here's the funny thing. I think, there's room now with the zombie stuff because the possible ending of some of the storylines.
Right.
You never know. There's now room to write a few more things in. So there's still a shot for the Roth and her zombies. Twitter fans, let us know, please, if you want to see like Roth, more actual zombies on the show. If we don't have enough soups on the show, so
Yeah.
Oh, I give up on letting it be limited soups at this point. Bring it on at this point. Look, there's so many at this point, and there's so many storylines. Why not bring it all on? Bring on why not dragons? Dragons, I say.
Well, we had the Ifrit, which is kind of like a dragon. Would you say?
Not even a little
close.
dude.
Okay,
not
fine.
even
Not even a little.
slightly. It's
Nice
like
try,
just
though. That was a
completely
good
not
attempt.
in no way a dragon.
It was a nice
like,
attempt.
It's not even close to
It was
a dragon.
smooth on your part, good delivery,
Like
but
maybe a pigeon would be more like a dragon.
Good call. All right,
Jeez,
next.
thanks. Appreciate that, guys. Fantastic. Even Marissa. Wow. Okay.
Thanks, Marissa.
No, but one thing about with going back to Lala, and you're right, he made a great. I wonder if that's Nelson's choice, is just giving it that lower pitch and not going that route that everyone's gone in the movies that you see the ooh, I feel the spirit, and like you said, people that I personally know someone like that as well, that they feel things and spirits talk to them, and if you believe that the New Age stuff, and she goes into slightly that voice as well, so it's interesting that he actually just went a different way.
Yeah.
So he's always making the choices, and it's always in his eyes.
Yeah.
And he even talked about it when he was looking in the mirror today. I don't remember the actual quote, but he was just like, why is he so pretty? Because these eyes.
He is so pretty, though. He looked amazing in this episode.
It was really well done.
So yeah, go ahead.
Are you guys loving Sookie this season? I love her this season.
Do you really?
I do.
Why? What?
I'm going to tell you why. I will tell you why I love her. Because, like I've been saying before, what happened to her, I think in previous seasons, is nearly the entirety of her character was in relationship to what was going on with her and Bill or her and Eric. Mm-hmm. She had a real hard time not in the first season. I really, really enjoyed her in the first season. But after that, it was all about her in relation to these two guys. The thing that I think that they did was they didn't make her vulnerable. She was always so sassy, even when she probably ought not to have been. She sort of smacked Eric way too early, where I feel like she really should have had more fear of vampires at that point in her progression. And then 3, she was very preachy. You know what I mean? She was sort of holier than thou and always yelling at everybody and telling them what was wrong with them and blah, 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 moralizing. And I'm not saying you shouldn't have morals, but there's a difference between proselytizing and moralizing and being an ethical, moral person who's also human.
Hold on, I got to punch up iDictionary on here. Holy crikey. I'm just...
Really?
Hold on, accessing SAT databanks. No, okay, no, I'm good.
But what I like about her this season is that she's her own person. She's funny. She's sort of developing who she is separately from them. And I think she's a little more grounded. I mean, I just think she's more of a human person who's got some flaws and some stuff.
And she's figuring out in those flaws that she finally coming to her senses that I was wrong. Let's say when she wanted to get rid of her fairy powers.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And tonight she actually needed them.
You're right.
So I'm wondering if she's going to finally fully accept this is just the cards I'm dealt with.
Sure.
And
yeah.
I think that's coming into play. So you're right. I'm surprised we hardly ever see. I don't think they're using Sookie enough this season. Is it because she's pregnant?
Well, probably because Anna was pregnant.
Yeah,
you're saying
Anna,
when they were shooting.
Yeah.
I think probably they had to pull back on her a little bit.
And her screen time is definitely considerably
Yes.
less.
Yeah.
Because you have all these storylines. But now let's talk about the story itself. Why I said Scooby-Doo is because I knew something was going to come up let's find a magic box. And here's going to be our clue.
Right.
And it was about Bud Dearborne finding her parents.
Which we totally called the other week.
Okay. I don't think I was here that week.
Didn't we?
It was like
I
2
wanna
weeks.
say
It was
yes,
2
yeah.
weeks ago. Yeah.
I called it somewhere. I don't. And Jenna and I both were like, because otherwise it's like, well, why did you bring him back
Right.
after 4 years?
Exactly.
you know, like they made that one. They kind of telegraphed that one a little bit. I think.
Did they? Okay. Yeah. Because I kind of didn't. I know we're jumping slightly ahead. Or we can move on to Jason, Andy, and the Dragon,
Yeah.
and Sheriff Dearborne.
Well, it's all connected,
Dragons.
right? At this point.
Yeah,
they-
that's-
those things kind of connect.
Well, I mean, I will say this though, that I think, and this is all connected too, is that one of the things that with Sookie wanting to reject her powers and reject who she is that I feel like one of the overarching ideas in the season, or what it's going to culminate as, is that there will be a war, but the lines will be divided not along it's the fairies with the wolves against the shifters and the vampires or anything like that. I think what it's going to be, and I think we saw a little hint of this with Alcide and his dad tonight, because he was like, the shifters are smarter, more adaptable, we have a pack, blah, blah, blah. Everybody's like, I'm this, you're that. But I think what the war is going to be about is actually like, are you for coexistence? Or are you part of a group that believes that you're superior to the other groups? And the groups that believe that they're superior to the other groups are going to be the ones that are going to be warring. And then the ones that are for coexistence are going to unite with each other across species lines. Do you know what I mean?
Fantastic.
Right?
I've never, because I'm always reading the threads and the blogs, and I've never heard that angle.
Yeah.
I think that's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's a different way of looking at division. So
Yeah. And I think that's what Alan Ball is going to leave the show having said, is that's what it is. It's what you do, not what you are. And I think Sookie embracing who she is, even though it's painful because she's different, is a part of that.
So you're saying
Do you
that
know what I mean?
they're almost creating the concept of not just, because they mentioned that it's going to be a war for humanity. Like, for example, obviously the dragon lady was saying it's going to be, the dragons. It's going to be a war for humanity. You're saying that it's the humanity in this case is not just like the classic sense of the term, as so much as coexistence.
Correct.
And humanistic coexistence at that.
Yes, absolutely.
Humane coexistence, I guess is the way to put it.
So you think we have a lot of storylines now? Can you imagine if it does go that route? Because everyone's going to be divided within species.
Right.
I mean, what other choice would you? I mean, what would be the alternative? Is the question. You would have to probably eradicate one or more of the species, no?
Right. Well, but think
Because
about
war
this.
eventually leads to death.
Kind of like the werepanthers. Where are they?
Right.
Yeah, but I mean, this is the thing too, is that like, I mean, I don't think that this is a person, the creator of this show, that believes that species should fight each other, because he's using it, as we know, as like
A commentary.
a commentary and an allegory for our world. And I'm sure that he is a person that believes in coexistence and sort of that, and like I just think that that's ultimately going to be his message. Because think about it, if you had people here in the United States that's developed a movement to kind of kill anyone that wasn't American, God forbid, not every American would be on board with that. Most would not, So I think that you have to think inside of the vampire species and the weres and all that, as much as they're prideful about whatever they are, it's not going to be to the point of wanting to annihilate everybody else, because that's dangerous.
Yeah, no, and it's similar to actually what Dragon was, what Sweetie was saying.
Yeah.
It was just basically us against the world, basically.
Right.
But before I get into it, I do have to mention Amazon. We got
Oh,
to, yes.
Amazon.
Anyone make Jenna's not here, so there's no drunken purchases.
Purchase. Did you make any drunken purchases, JC?
I did not, because I'm still smarting over the bacon that she got me last week, the bacon lip balm and the dark chocolate and bacon chocolate bars.
I had some of that. I shared it with some people. You know what I bought on Amazon this week? I bought a book. I always am buying media.
Excellent.
Oh, what'd you buy?
I bought a book called Blink, and it's just basically about how our minds rapidly, like in the blink of an eye, process all this information, and how you make snap judgments, and basically how the subconscious works. It's rad.
Nice. And the whole reason we do mention it, and it's just because we have a partnership with Amazon. So if you go to our site, if you click on the upper right-hand corner, there's a little Amazon banner. And what it'll take you to Amazon, where you can make your purchases at no additional cost. And actually, some of that money comes back to us, because all this free content, we got to make some money somehow. And as they said, helps keep the lights on.
We get goodies, so you get goodies.
Yes. Thank you. All right, now back to Dragon
I also
Lady.
got Doctor Who.
Oh, did you?
I did. I already have it, but
Now you're prepping that because you guys are going to start. You and Jenna will be doing hopefully the after show of that real soon.
yes, we are. By the way, I really want to apologize I can't stop eating these
Yeah,
Starbucks.
what is with you and the? It's like all of a sudden you're just like it's like cigarettes. You're like a chain starburster.
I can't stop. So I have. I said Starbucks.
Take those away from her,
Did you
please.
say Starbucks?
Okay, back to True Blood. Let's bring
Back
it
to
back.
True Blood. Sorry,
bring it
forgive
back.
me.
No, but I do want to talk about Sweetie. Sweetie, what is it? Sweetie Des Arts.
Who does not look like a sweetie?
I think that's what I mean. That was what's awesome is that I think she got the name Dragon because she just liked wearing those like Chinese like house robes.
Yeah.
And it had like the dragon is stitched, embroidered on the side of it or something like that. I was like, is that why you're the dragon? Because
No, the dragon is.
No, I know
okay.
it's a reference from the clan, but
Yeah,
I
yeah.
just like the fact that it was like a little comedy bit where she during an official action of that bunch, she was wearing like this awesome little house robe that you can buy in Chinatown for like $5 or something. It had like cool dragon embroidery on the side of it. It was awesome.
It looked nice. No, but Sweetie is actually from the books.
Yes.
And I did not know. Let's see, at Universal Crush actually sent me a little like bio on Sweetie Des Arts.
Nice.
To let me know
Cool.
the differences between, because I guess she was in books 3, 4, and 5, and she was a cook. She was a cook over at Merlotte.
Right, because as we know, Lafayette died in the first book. Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
did she take over for Lafayette?
She took over for Lala.
Ah.
So she's not a square dancing champion or anything like that.
No.
No.
Well, maybe she is. We don't know.
Does she? Is the part where she is having an affair with Dearborne?
No.
Part
No.
that's also
No.
unique to the show.
Well,
Okay.
the Dearborne thing is actually in the books, Arlene is more of a soups hater.
Really?
She big time, and she marries one of the like a hate group guy, or she gets together. I can't remember if she marries him or she just gets together with him.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
You brought that up. I want to bring something up when we start talking about Terry, Arlene, Patrick, the Holy Freet, the Freet line, because some similar to that line, something I thought that they would have gone with Arlene, but back to like Sweetie, she, I guess. Let's see. I wrote it down that she supposedly had killed 20 soups or something. She had killed 20 soups in the books
Yeah.
and injured like over 40. So she was like a big time baddie.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was cool that a lot of people have hated this season because they've deviated so far from the books. But the
Right.
fact that they still put Sweetie in was a
They
nice.
still bring elements.
Yeah.
They
Yes.
might change them, but they still incorporate elements from the book, so people have
Yeah.
something to identify with and compare with, which is still an engaging process.
Right, even with the girl Tanya, remember that Tara, it became Tara's pet last week. The
Yeah.
store that she owns, Tanya's Togs. In the book, it was Tara's Togs. It was her store, Tara's character.
So it's still tied in, okay? So because I've not read the books, I try to get as much information from the books to see if it's following. My little chat roll people, they send me little tidbits, but.
Yeah.
It was cool at least to see this because everyone's, like I said,
Right.
has been complaining. But what'd you think of Sweetie and Bud being apprehended so quickly? Were you glad that storyline just wrapped up?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that it's probably completely wrapped up.
Bud's dead.
But
Well, but we
that
still
portion
haven't-
of it is wrapped
right,
up.
but
But
we
I'm saying
still-
the hate group is probably not wrapped up.
And there's still the
completely.
element of how that all ties into Warlow and whatnot.
Yeah. Well, what Bud knew about Warlow and who Warlow, which I have theories on that, but what Bud knew about him and who he actually is and things like that. But also, I don't think the hate group is just now done. I mean, I think that they're still out there and still an element.
I think
You know
there'll
what
be
I
a
mean?
bunch of other hate groups. Maybe this one just kind of got shut down. But like you said, how everything's been leading to these wars, there's
Yeah.
going to be a lot more hate groups that are going to just pop
Yeah.
up throughout.
Well, what I liked about her, Sweeney, and was that she was a good mirror for Salome in the sense that both of them are really driven by revenge and their egos. You know, they're both driven by things that they felt happened to them. Like Salome was really obviously traumatized when she was a kid for very obvious reasons, and then she hated people. She was like, vamps have been better to me than people. But she also was like, I don't want to be known as the naked dancing girl who got the head of John the Baptist forever. I want to be tied to Lilith. I want to own my sort of legacy. And I think that Sweeney is also really driven by her ego.
Yeah.
See, you always pick I've never picked that up about the Salome and the Sweetie. That's fantastic. Just
Yeah, because then Sweetie is also, she was wronged by a soup or a shifter who took away her husband, and she was left
And how-
embarrassed. And
How was it in the books? I don't know if I wrote that down. How Sweetie.
Honestly, I don't remember. I mean, yeah, I just don't remember why she hated the soups.
I'm trying. If it was, I think she was turned by a werewolf. I believe she was bitten by like a werewolf that had just been turned into a werewolf, which they still haven't done in the series. Where
Right.
someone if you get turned into a wolf, during a full moon, don't they wolf out?
Yeah, well, here's the thing, though, is that they sort of established, because in the book series, Jason is turned into a werepanther. And so they established in the book series that you can be turned, if you're human, into either whatever. If you're bit. I mean, they bit him a lot, you know, like they just had him down and they just kept biting him until he turned. But in the series, they kind of indicated, no, you cannot be ever turned. It's genetic, you're born that way or not.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
Because remember, Jason couldn't get turned.
Right.
See, but I think Jason will turn into something.
Do you really? I hope not.
He's turning it. I'm not going to say what. It's something that was put out at the end of the episode when they had a preview for the rest of the season. I don't know if you guys caught that.
I don't know if I
No,
caught
I don't
that.
think I caught
Oh,
that.
I gotta
yeah.
go back.
We'll
and
save
look.
it for predictions.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So we'll come to that one a little bit later. But
And remind me, I'll tell you what I think about the person that killed Sookie's parents.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've got one too. Oh, so we're gonna have a big prediction
Yeah.
episode tonight for sure.
I mean, to quickly answer, like, I really do think that it was a good idea for them to at least nip this storyline because of what you just said earlier. I think they'll just kind of now, as they've established the fact that these hate groups exist, they've got the war coming, so they can now reference these groups. But to actually have one specific group that they deal with in every episode that's directly affecting a couple of the people on the cast, that was going to be too much for me personally, even to keep up with. I just kind of want to be like, okay, let's nip this and move on to the bigger picture. So that ended up being what happened. So I'm actually kind of glad about that.
Nice. No. Speaking of wrapped up storylines, I gotta say I'm kind of glad the Ifrit Terry Arlene thing is done.
Okay.
Concur.
I know many people that feel the same way as you.
Absolutely.
I'm one of those people.
And it was cool because if you go to like seasons 2, let's say Marianne, I think you could have wrapped up that season maybe 10 episodes, 8, 9 episodes. I thought they dragged
Right.
it a little too long.
Absolutely.
And I was afraid they were going to do this with the Ifrit, Terry, and Arlene.
Right.
But thank goodness that they solved it in episode 9.
You know, I think I might be a little
You're biased.
unusual. No, I mean, everyone knows that I really like the Terry character. But I really, look, I didn't like the physical depiction of the Ifrit. I thought it was kind of silly, like, whoa, smoke monster.
Right.
But I did like the storyline because I thought it offered a lot for him. And what I really like about what they're doing this season is they're making bold moves with their characters. They're not shying away from vampires being vampires, from like when the guy is on the table and he's crying and he's gonna be killed, you think, okay, they're not really gonna kill this guy, but of course
no,
they
they
are.
do.
No,
Yeah.
they absolutely are. They are not shying away, and Bill and Eric are participating in that bloodbath,
Yeah.
you know? And so they're not shying away from the brutality of what it is to be this otherworldly creature, but they're also not shying away from the brutality of what it is to be a human being. You know what I mean? They can't really have one without the other, because the truth is that human beings absolutely are brutal and can be brutal, not all of them and not all the time, but they can be and they are. So I think that's when we're talking about the idea of, you know, coexisting unity, people, like the complexity of all of the creatures. They can't I think it's important that they had the Terry storyline to illustrate the brutality of human war, of what people will do when they're obeying orders. And then Terry and Arlene, both, because they were like, it's kill or be killed, do it, Terry. You know, one of our most beloved sweet characters just shot some guy in the head. Shot him in the head. And that was the right thing to do in his mind.
Okay, now did you guys think he was going to shoot? Did you when you first saw the episode tonight? Did you think he was going to shoot Patrick or himself?
Himself.
I thought he was going to at
Himself.
that moment when she says do what is right. I thought we were going to be like, we were going to hear a gunshot and assume that he shot Patrick and then find out that he shot himself.
So how was it right?
I don't know that it was, and I think that's what's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Arlene is incredibly pragmatic, and she's going to be the person that's like, baby, it was you or him, and it's all about, I got kids, we got Mikey, we got the kids, so you did the right thing, and she's going to move on.
Yeah.
I think Terry is a far more emotional person, and he's going to be dealing with the repercussions of what he did.
Because in the end, did he just take an order?
Yes, he did.
Well,
Kind of.
Kind of, but at the same time, he hinted at what he was trying to do. And you would notice that line that he said, you know, I wouldn't be doing any of this if it wasn't for you. So he really, I do think that it's some part of his, you know, psyche. He did think that, you know, unfortunately, killing Patrick was the right thing to do because that was part of fighting for Arlene and the family that he has wanted so bad and the life that he wants so badly. And this is a way of kind of putting it, just literally putting it away.
I think from her point of view too, Terry's punishment, like I feel like Patrick could have lived with what if Patrick had killed Terry, he would have lived with that better than Terry would killing Patrick. So actually, like poetic justice wise, Terry's punishment is now that he has to live that he did this twice, not once but 2 times. You know,
some more just stress disorders for Terry ahead.
Yeah.
And speaking of ahead, where do they go? Where does that storyline go? Really? Because it's solved pretty much. I mean, do you bring that back the baby? Does Renee come back? What's going to happen to Terry and Arlene?
I hope Renee
Those are
does
very
not
good questions,
come back.
but that's the thing is they've left it open ended. I mean, like she said, like Roth was saying, it's not necessarily that Terry's personal demons and inner conflicts are necessarily completely resolved. He has once again done what he didn't want to do. So you know, which was to kill or be violent. So he might not necessarily be all like, all right, I'm good. I've nipped it in the bud. I've made, you know, I've consoled myself and I've finished my work and everything's good to go. That may not be the case. But like you said too, I totally agree with you. I like the fact that everybody's doing risky things. These characters are doing things. You're like, they're not really gonna. Oh my God, they did do that. Is amazing.
That's how you felt with Bill, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And once, I mean, if for no other reason than by your theory, then I do applaud them at least for doing that. That, and, you know, it's that kind of like they're not really going to. Wow, he really is, and there he goes. I can't believe that just happened. So they're doing that with a lot of characters. They're having people do risky things that we wouldn't have come to expect, just so we could see some radical personal growth from all these characters. It's awesome.
Would that be also in the same? And we didn't get a chance to talk about Jason and Andy. And speaking of like shocking decisions, like he blew away Bud, who was possibly his mentor, his hero, and just
the guy he looked up to.
Yeah. And I mean, okay, Roth, you may be right.
Well, but that's awesome too, because he kind of lived in Bud's shadow as well and considered himself the worst sheriff in history. But this was like him owning the fact that, okay, I am my own sheriff and I'm going to do what's right here, which is if you continue to attack, I'm going to have to bring you down. That's what Dearborne did. And so Andy shot him. So that was like Andy's way of saying, I'm the sheriff of the town now and you're breaking the law. I'm going to bring you down.
Also, though, it was really funny when Sam was like, "You're not the worst sheriff ever." He's way, like the head of the KKK went psycho. Way worse than you.
Dearborne had you beat by a mile. That's an awfully backwards.
Not a great barometer.
It's like a backwards way of start.
It's a start from our poor little Andy.
You could just hear Andy doing like, "That's a backwards compliment, but thanks." Like that's how he said the thanks, Sam. That was the subtext.
Did you guys not find that there was some of the best dialogue on that? We were saying this earlier. I mean, there was some hilarity ensuing on this episode.
Absolutely. Even and even stuff that wasn't said, even like let's say Tara and Pam.
Yes.
And I know I'm glad we didn't have it on the board, but we have to talk about Tara and Pam a little bit. We know for some reason I think is it you or Jenna that really loves Tara?
No. I adore Pam, and I've been really rooting for Pam and Tara to sort of find their rhythm as the maker and makey. And I think they're like prickly people, both of them. So it's gonna be a little push pull. But I loved what Pam did for her last week, and I think that Tara running over to see if she's okay was great.
To squat by her and make sure that she's all right. And so now there's a new sheriff in town.
I do not like him.
Well, I think that's kind of the point. But I mean, that's a greasy monkey right there. Dude.
Who appointed him?
He said the authority.
He said the authority and the monarchs.
Salome.
Okay, Salome. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know if it was just someone just appointing himself as the sheriff.
Oh, like chaos is.
Yeah. No. He said the monarchs have made it.
No, he said the authority.
Well, no, I'm saying he's saying that the monarchs are now allowing public feedings, and the authority has appointed me sheriff of District 5. So I was like, wow, okay.
Well, because of course, I mean, this Salome's plan is to abolish mainstreaming. So after they're blowing up the True Blood factories, maniacal plan, the next step would be to put in a puppet government, people that are gonna, go by her rules, which are Sanguinista.
Yeah. So Slash is now the new sheriff of District 5.
Yes.
And that dude, I swear, he was going to pull out a freaking. No, but of course he does. Like, he should be so honored to be even in the same ballpark as Slash. But I just half expected me like, I'd like to break out a quick song for everybody. Like that dude looks like seriously, he's just like rocker hair.
He also didn't look scary. I mean, I that's kind of what bugged me. I was like, I know that guy did not just take Pam down. I know he didn't.
Well, that's one of the best things about Eric, even when he was sheriff, was that he looked like a Nordic god. You know, like blonde hair, clear face. He almost had like boy looks. He doesn't have like an extremely hardened face as a character,
like
but
a man nonetheless.
But you, dude, from the first moment he came on, you're like, I probably shouldn't mess with this guy. I mean, you bought the Viking bit,
You
hook,
did.
line, and sinker.
Yeah.
This
Still
guy
a
is the
Viking after all these years.
Yeah, exactly. Still a Viking after all these years. That you totally buy that. This guy is like the guy that was put he's a small fish in a really big pond.
Yeah, who better go keep on slaughtering people in the name of God.
He's going to last 2.5 episodes.
Yeah.
That's it.
That guy, yeah.
Yeah, Eric's going to be like, what are you doing in my
Yeah.
chair?
He's an afterthought.
Yeah.
Wait, okay, so speaking of sort of people and their maker and makey and the progeny and all of that, what do you guys think of Eric trying to save his sister? I love, this is what I was saying before, I love that Eric is the one that's like, because it's so in his character to say, in a sense, I sort of wish I could believe like you do. I would like to be that person that could have that, but I can't because he's just way too practical. You know, he and Pam are very much the same in the sense that they're for themselves, they're for cash, they're for power, they're for fun, they're for good times, and then they're for a very small group of people. And for Pam, it's like Eric and that's it, maybe not Tara. But Eric, it's like, you know, Godric, Sookie, a little bit Bill, his sister. These are the people that he considers his, and fuck everybody else.
Do you think really Bill? I mean, this season, perhaps, but
I think he was seriously
Bill.
let that, like at that
I
end
think he was
scene,
disappointed.
that look was the, are you, I mean, at some level, and I totally agree with you. I think bottom line is someone like Eric and these people that live forever, there's of all those things that he wants to accomplish, number one, survival.
Yeah.
So obviously
That's what he
these
is,
people
number
at
one.
the end of the day have always come to know that people come and go, but I have to keep going somehow and I have
Yeah.
to survive. So they do trust like a very small group of people,
Yes.
which they get very close to. So I definitely think it's, when Bill goes that way, Eric didn't know what to, because I mean, as much as they've clashed, I think they understand and have an appreciation for the fact that they are both survivors.
Yes.
Eric just fundamentally doesn't understand why Bill is choosing to survive via that path.
Well, I think too that I think that they have a fun kind of like frenemy relationship.
Yeah.
But they've known each other a really long time, and they do have that rapport. And I think that over the course of the last season or so, that he's grown in a weird way. They bonded over the Sookie thing, and he's kind of even grown oddly closer to his frenemy. And I do think he counts him in that circle. I think he wanted, because the thing is, when Molly, who I still hope is Lilith, when Molly looked at Eric and said, "We can't wait for Bill," he looked at her like, "Bitch, please, we're gonna wait." Like, he better, but if it had gotten really critical, he would have left, because that's who Eric is. That's his character.
And it sounds like we're shifting into the Authority, but
Yeah.
before we fully dive into it, let's just take a real quick commercial break and we'll come back with the Authority and our jam-packed predictions. You're watching AfterBuzz TV.
Hey there, good buddies. The handle's Woolly Bear. I'm a truck driving man, but I'm not that old school kind of truck driving man, no. I like to listen to podcasts while I'm driving through these great United States of ours. And my favorite podcasts in the world are from AfterBuzz TV. And why? Because AfterBuzz TV is like a post-game wrap-up show for all your favorite TV shows, like Jersey Shore, Dancing with the Stars, Mad Men, and a whole truckload more. I like listening to my Gossip Girl podcast, catching up with all my fellow fans and getting all the latest news and gossip. No, I got some strong opinions. And AfterBuzz TV lets me share those opinions with thousands of other listeners. Woo-wee, what a feeling. I used to doze off on those lonely stretches of road. And don't worry, I got the cruise control. But now I'm wide awake and listening to all the AfterBuzz TV goodness. Check them out, give them a holler, and tell them the old Woolly Bear sent you.
I believe we're back.
We are back. So we just got an awesome tweet, you guys, and I have to tell you, I'm a huge Harry Potter fan. So this
Ditto.
Are you?
Yeah.
I have a
Oh,
time
yeah.
turner in my
Ditto.
bag. Are you?
Yes.
I literally
Nice.
have a time turner in my bag at all times.
That's awesome.
No, it's scary, but it's true. But so we just got this tweet that says it's going to be the final battle in Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But how will they determine that? You know,
What do you
because,
mean?
Like, are you talking about season 6 or season 9?
Oh, you mean, okay, so when will it be?
Yeah.
I think what they're leading into is setting up a war that will play out next season.
Yeah, I would totally give it. Damn it, Roth.
I think the war is going to last more than one season.
Oh, you do?
I think it's going to be like the last chapter of the show. Like
Okay.
it's going to be like maybe 2, maybe 3 would be a bit much. But I mean,
No, I don't know. I mean, it's a war. You could make it last.
because the show's been kind of formulaic, where every
Yeah.
season there's one baddie and we're done, and then we move on to the next year. I'm sure we have a few storylines that kind of carry it through, but
Yeah.
I think we need just one big massive battle that resolves everything.
Well, I don't
like
know.
that.
I don't know. I mean, there's 3 episodes left. We've got Russell Edgington and Salome. These 2 are huge characters and huge antagonists.
Yeah.
How are they going to get rid of both those people
They're
in
not.
the last 3 episodes? It's not going to happen.
They're
And
not
I'm-
gonna get rid of Russell.
Frankly speaking, if you've already been able to draw out an entire season on Russell Edgington alone, you're not going to be able to do that and Salome in yet another season and bang that out. You're probably going to, like you said, need at least a season if you decide to go this route again and just make that war the kind of underbelly of consequent seasons.
Well, if we're gonna throw that in, then I was gonna save this for predictions, even though it's not a prediction. It's just doing a little sleuthing around. Is that gonna work?
Sure.
Roman could be back.
How do you figure?
I looked on IMDb and he's slated for being on this season for 9 episodes.
Well, flashbacks.
Sneaky.
I mean, him and Russell Edgington have known each other since
Darn
the
it.
Renaissance.
Yeah.
You
could
know,
be
he's like, you
flashbacks.
were a conceited, or not a conceited. You were a what's the heck? Something. It's like you were a conceited bastard in the Renaissance. And you still are one now. So they've known each other for hundreds of years.
So you think there's gonna be a flashback every single episode? Because we've only got 3 episodes left.
I don't know. That's a really good.
That's what
a
I'm
good
saying.
question.
That's a good question.
Or maybe he's Warlow. I don't know.
Or IMDb could be wrong.
What?
Yeah.
I never could- okay.
Or he
hey,
could be Warlow.
Yeah,
like you said.
I think it could be Warlow, but
Jesus,
Yeah.
that blew my mind just
See,
then. I
I'm
literally
just-
had to stop for a second. I was like, oh my God.
But let's before we get in, we got to talk about the werewolves. We,
Yeah.
Yes.
we didn't get a chance to really talk about Martha and how awesome she's winning me over, just like
Love
Pam
her.
did the first half of the season.
Yeah.
Because I never know where she's going to go.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Love her.
I thought she was going to be the leader of the shift hating group. Somehow I thought she was
Yeah.
going to be tied into him. Obviously, way wrong with that. And
Yeah.
now she's needs her Emma back. She lost
Yeah,
Emma. And
I know.
Well, I thought she was probably going to like do what has to be done as far as the pack is concerned and fall in, but she didn't fall in.
No.
She said no to the vampire blood.
Yeah.
So again, a kind of twist that I didn't expect.
Well, I thought it was so pathetic looking when they were all kind of like kneeling down
Mm-hmm.
for Russell's blood. I really thought it was so pathetic. And I think, you know, Russell, it shows how Russell sort of views everyone that's not Russell, basically. But also, Steve Leland and Russell called it. You totally called it in episode 1, JC.
bing bing.
I feel like that was really pathetic, but I think that the big result of that is going to be, besides Alcide going to unite with his dad, who did anybody want him to break out into the Terminator run? Was that just me? But
I'm there with you. With the Warlow and now the Terminator, because
Yeah.
Warlow has that little, it looks like a little that liquid
no,
metal
because he
look.
was the T-1000.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, good.
Liquid metal
Yeah.
T-1000. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, we're there. So I feel like they established that his dad has fallen off the track, but that at one point was a strong wolf leader, and that Alcide is going to go to him, sort of a broken man, to come back, to get some strength and come back and fight what's going on, the corruption in this pack. But Luna is going to lose her shit.
Yeah.
She's gonna lose it, and I feel like she's gonna start skinwalking, like against her will, because she's gonna go psychotic.
I
and her
actually half
daughter's
expected her to
missing.
do that while she was beating up Sweetie.
No, but think about how she's gonna get now that she's gone. That vampires have her.
Right.
Wow. I know. Yeah, because I still don't understand why she started shifting like Tommy did in season 4. Why
Yeah.
she just inexplicably started shifting.
I think that her emotions got to such a high. Because I mean, like, imagine you got shot. Somebody tried to shoot your kid. Her emotions got so heightened that she lost control.
Yeah.
So that backs up what you just said.
So yeah,
Yeah.
when she finds out that Martha lost, well, not lost, but when Russell took Emma,
Took it. By the
then
way,
she'll
that dog is so cute. Okay,
yeah,
go ahead.
yeah, she'll lose it. But you know, it's interesting. I actually think that Alcide is going to help his father just as much as his father will, because obviously, so his father is set up as the man who taught Alcide what how the
pack
world
is.
works. You know, like his moral code, his do the right thing center is from his father, who at one point was obviously a very noble man. So I would like to see his father and Alcide together bring themselves back into, you know, maybe they're going to create their own pack. I'm not exactly sure. They're both obviously abjured. They're both lone wolves apparently, or lone wolves, sorry. And it'll be interesting to see how both those characters come back. And find their way, and maybe even, like you said, it was a really interesting depiction. Like you said, with Russell, his hand was down. It wasn't even like he bit his hand and offered it, you know, like wrist up, so to speak, so to drink from me. He obviously, I actually think that was an interesting choice. If it does end up being a choice from an acting point of view, it was really interesting to see him like just cut his wrist and then put his hand, you know, facing the palm down, as if to say, you are my subjects, you may drink from my dripping blood. Not even like, come get it, like, I don't know what would be a dignified way of doing it, but that was definitely the least dignified way I could think of. And that was a really interesting shot of just seeing them all kind of, after JD has preached about how he's going to bring the glory back to the pack, that he's sitting there just like, you know,
certainly not
like
glorious.
a baby chirping, getting like the regurgitated food from the mom.
Well, I think, oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, just backing up what you said a few minutes ago about being the puppet master. JD is nothing but just a puppet pack leader.
Yeah, he is. And then I think too, you know, we've been saying that this whole season is about, you know, lineage and parents and children and family. So this is Alcide reconciling with his lineage, which I think he took a lot of pride in when he was a kid, and then whatever went astray, and now he's going to kind of reclaim that pride in order to go. I don't think they're going to form their own pack. I think they're going to go take down this pack leader and get that pack back in order. That's what they're going to do.
Yeah, it'll be.
Plus, he's got his little girlfriend.
Alcide. Yeah. Oh yeah, and where was she? She wasn't there.
She might have been, but I don't remember her getting any screen time there. I didn't really see her in that bunch. She may not have been.
She wasn't drinking the blood either.
I didn't see her drinking the blood.
So we'll see. I just can't wait. I'm excited to see. I'm finally excited to see Martha. I want to see what she does next. I'm hooked. Like with Pam, first half of this season. So let's get to the moment we've been waiting for. The authority.
I find authority. Yes. So let me ask you a question. What did you think about the Bill, Salome, Lilith, Sookie, love quadrangle?
Okay, I'm going to take off my True Blood super fan hat off for a second and just say, as a man fan, awesome, hell yeah. Sorry, just had to say that. I'm sorry. It was two butt counts out of the 4 there. You know, it was Lilith and Salome. But okay, I don't think Lilith exists.
I don't think she does either.
Well,
not that girl. Not the Bill saw.
She's the hallucination, you guys
She's
think.
the hallucination.
She is fairy blood.
Oh, well, I think that the blood in the vial is fairy blood. Yes.
Now, what did you all think was
But I think Lilith exists.
One thing I don't know if I was too clear on. At the very end of that scene, Bill touches his finger to his teeth and looks at the blood.
Yes.
What did you think is going on there?
Yes. Go.
JC Rubio in the back.
Yes. Okay. I think he's not as bad as we think he is. You know, we think he's playing the baddie. I think he's pulling a Dark Knight move here, where he's playing it super close to the vest, where he can't even tell
reference.
Eric. He can't tell Eric. He can't tell anyone. And right then, that's the moment he knew that Lilith doesn't exist. He looked at that's
when he realized it's a hallucination.
The same blood.
Because it's Sookie's blood.
Yes.
It's like Sookie's blood.
Yes.
Wait. Let's be clear.
That's why Sookie showed up in his hallucination.
Okay, so to be clear, you guys are saying he realized it's hallucination and that it's fairy blood, because why else would he have envisioned Sookie in that same...
Yes. So
ladies and gentlemen, listen up.
Yeah, I think no. Now it's funny because I started out the episode going, no, it makes sense for Bill to go down this path, but I think you're right. Yeah. The only other thing, and Bill, I'm like totally, I know it's going to sound like I'm contradicting myself, but I never thought Hoyt was infiltrating the sort of hate group. I never thought that's something Hoyt would do, because I didn't think it was in his character. But infiltrating the authority is absolutely something Bill would do.
Well, I did think that was possible. I mean, I was thinking that one interesting thing would be when Bill and Eric kind of infiltrate and then take over. But now things are going a little bit differently. I guess Eric is going a different way, or maybe, honestly, nothing is for certain. It's not like they may not. But
so let me ask you a question. Do you think that Salome put a little bit of Lilith's blood on her so that Bill would take it in, so he would have the hallucination?
Or maybe she's just...
Or maybe she's been juicing.
Maybe she's been juicing.
That's what I was thinking.
Wasn't she the one who because Nora says that at one point Salome brought me into this chamber and let me drink from the blood.
Yeah, so you think Salome's been juicing, and so it's in her bloodstream.
And that's probably maybe why she's so dead fixed on the fact that Lilith is going to do she's the vessel of Lilith. Maybe she's also too far into the juice to know what the heck is up.
Right, which is kind of a fun parallel for the wolves being addicted to the V, you know, because everybody becomes blood and addicted to the blood, and the blood is like metaphorically whatever ideology or whatever you're buying into that is outside of the realm of real world and leading you astray. That's what the blood is, where you lose yourself to something that isn't even ultimately real or healthy. That's kind of awesome,
Just like the
actually.
vamps.
Just like the vamps, just like the wolves do to the vamps, or even the people that get addicted to V.
Yeah, down the chain, down the food chain. So basically,
That's kind of awesome. I think you're right, JC. I think that that makes a lot of sense. He realized, because also too, you know what makes sense about that? If she's been juicing in, it's in her blood, it would be diluted the way it's not as potent in Sookie's blood. The fairy blood isn't as potent in Sookie's blood. So it would make him realize, wait a minute, why have I felt this before?
Right. Why have I felt? Well, I hope that's the case, because honestly, like I was saying earlier, like I maybe at some level I was like, no, Bill, you can't possibly. He broke the cardinal rule number 564 of the bro code, bros before hosting. He just, after all that time,
that number
establishing
one before
brohood,
everybody.
establishing brohood with Eric, he just was like, you're on your own, JoJo. And Eric was like, what? All right, fangs
And
that down,
is
I'll
Lilith the
stand
hoe?
down. What's that?
Is Lilith the hoe?
Well, Salome, I think, would be.
Salome's the hoe in
Salome
that
would be the
scenario?
hoe in this one, yeah.
this portion of True Blood brought to you by BET.
I will say this. I will say this. I think, JC,
Well
that
played.
I do think you're right. And I do think this week especially, I was like, oh, that's fairy blood. That's totally fairy blood. It's some crazy fairy blood, but fairy blood nonetheless. But I also do think that... Wait, what?
I was going to say, this supports your theory of who you think Lilith is.
Okay, great.
Go ahead.
'Cause
This is your theory.
Yeah, my theory is that Molly is Lilith. Now, I know that it's becoming less and less likely, seemingly, that Molly is Lilith, but why does she keep showing up?
Right. I would
Why
say
is
you
she
might be
still-
right, except
you know?
absolutely. Why
Like-
is she now she knows how to turn off cameras and stuff.
Now she knows how to turn off cameras. She's in the mix. Why is Molly, this little tech girl, in the mix of like, oh, it's our main characters getting kidnapped and Molly, the tech girl?
Yeah.
Like,
It's like Bill and Eric are trying to get out, and who do they choose to help them? Molly, the
Molly,
little techie
the
girl that
little
was going to
techie.
give them a little app, what do you call it, iPhone app that kills them, the eye steak.
Exactly. Now, I really think that, okay, so the idea is like, well, if you're that powerful, how do you mask it? Because you're that powerful. Because you are the mother of all vampires. Of course you can mask it if you want to.
And wouldn't that be ironic that Eric tells her, look, I'm 1,000 years older than you are. Put your baby fangs away. Meanwhile, she's thinking, I'm pretty sure I'm the first one, so that would
So
make
we're
me
good.
your superior. Put your fangs away. No, wait. All right, I'm play acting. I'll suck it up.
But also just going along with what I think Alan Ball is sort of about, and he wants us to kind of like buy into, is like, if you think about what a god figure would be, it wouldn't be what you, it wouldn't be the supermodel, you know what I mean? Not that a supermodel couldn't be divine. I just mean in the sense that it's this ordinary girl who is not going to be about power and power hungry and flash and showing off your power and ego. She's going to be above that because she is divine. And the things that are divine are not the things that they're assigning to divinity, which is bloodthirst, power grabs, ego. All of this is the opposite, in my opinion, of what is divine and divinity and holy. So where would you put it? You would put it in the least likely person to illustrate how wrong they are about everything.
Remember, they do everything with a purpose on the show. So
Right.
just like that line you said about Eric to Molly, you're gonna look back at the season.
chuckle
If
at
we're
it.
right, if
Right.
we are, which we believe we may
We
be.
believe we may be.
We may be. It's gonna make sense. It all fits now.
And that would be the most interesting. I mean, generally speaking, the most interesting depictions of godhood on film and television are always the ones that where the characters are people that create a very sympathetic, like George Burns as like an old kind of, cantankerous,
movie.
cigar smoking god, or Morgan Freeman as the guy who just has a funny sense of humor, but honestly is just a mellow cat, just trying to do right. Like those kinds of things are the most interesting depictions, and it would be awesome to see Molly just kind of fall right in line with like, well, I'm just a kind of just a goody two shoes girl, just trying to do the right thing. Why do I have to be this big, larger than life outlook. I can be an unsuspecting looking young girl.
Yeah, and of course the Napoleon Dynamite girl. So of course, there you go,
Right.
unassuming.
Absolutely unassuming.
Likers.
Yeah. So Molly for Lilith. We'll see.
All right.
Molly
Any,
Phillip,
any other thoughts
2012.
before we move on to predictions? Anything else stand out with the authority?
One more thing.
Yeah.
Why did the fairies come? Why did Claude and the fairy bunch decide to visit Sookie? Claude and the fairy bunch, not the funky bunch, but Claude and the fairy bunch decide to visit Sookie with a cup of soup just to sit on her couch and say, "A war is coming."
Because the fairies are about to take a much larger role. Listen, if what we're saying is that blood is fairy blood, then somebody's been manipulating the vampires for a really long time. And it's the fairies.
Okay. Are they going to Miyagi Sookie? Is she about to go through a wax on, wax off process?
I hope so.
Wouldn't that be awesome? So she doesn't have to be like, bzz, you know, like sitting there
Train
with
her powers.
Yeah, with little powers that don't work when she
Yeah.
needs them. Like, I need to break out of these bonds. Way to go, fairy power.
I certainly hope they're going to try and do that. I
think a training montage is coming up.
that.
I would love to see a training montage.
So she wasn't dreaming that tonight. Just
No.
throwing that out there.
That totally happened, and I think the fairies are about to take a bigger role in her life and in the show.
Okay. So
Yeah.
All right.
with that said, let's move on to
predictions.
And now,
boy, creepy
your
music.
AfterBuzz TV
Who wants to go first?
predictions.
Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Yeah,
Okay.
go, Roth.
Okay,
Yeah,
or do you want to?
No.
Okay, this is the thing: is that I think that you were onto something with Roman being the vampire, and now he's ghosty vampire, because that would make sense because Roman's dead, right? However, alternate if it's not that, then this is the thing, and again, I said this previously, so book spoiler alert. In the books, the fairies kill her parents. It's not her cousin fairies, it's not the fairies that she's related to, but it's the fairies that are at war with her cousin fairies. Okay? And so why did Claudine know the guy by name? Why, if he's so attracted to fairy blood, would he not immediately jump up and try and attack Claudine, who's an actual fairy and not a little piece of blood and a band-aid of a half a fairy, so that he couldn't control himself? I feel like either that was a fairy disguising himself, because remember, fairies are not what they seem a lot of the times, and they are shapeshifty, and they can mask things.
We see what we want. We see what they want you to see.
What they want you to see.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so I feel like that was either a fairy that's on the other fairy world team, the one that wanted, because in the fairies, what he wanted was, the bad fairy was purity. He was the same goal. He wanted a pure fairy race. And so anybody that was a half-breed or halfling, he wanted dead, and he wanted the doors closed between Earth and the fairy realms.
And that supports the fact that Sookie could be inside of him when she saw the scenario, because she can't be inside.
She can't be inside a vampire. So I really honestly think it's a fairy that did it.
Ooh, good. Any predictions, Yerman? Anything after this episode?
Well, okay, so this
Anything
crept
you've
up in my mind right at the end of that episode, and just bear with me because I'm trying to say this concisely and succinctly. iDictionary, what's up? And just plug your ears because you may not like this. So I had this weird feeling that we have now seen Terry get rid of the Ifrit problem. We still have this rumor that one of the cast members may not be returning. On top of that, Pam now has a new sheriff in town, which makes her pissed to all hell. Eric is in trouble. She's denied. They've sworn each other off, but she's still very connected and very connected to Eric and missing him. I have a feeling that, oddly enough, Pam is going to go back and try to help Eric and possibly give her life in the process.
No.
It's predictions. Hey?
I don't know. It's just this weird inkling. It could be completely out of nowhere. I have no detective basis. I don't have any clues I don't know. I was like, what would I do with that? I'm just saying.
Okay.
I judge.
I was gonna say
Why-
we don't
why
judge,
would-
but you're wrong. Okay.
Yeah, we don't judge. I don't judge. I just sit here and eat Starburst and judge.
Okay.
I never said I didn't. I'm totally
JC.
judging that. No way.
I got a prediction. It's a
Yes.
small one.
Okay. Lay it on us.
This is just a prediction, and for people that send us messages on iTunes and say don't put spoilers, and this is not a spoiler. I saw this at the end of the episode where they did a preview of the upcoming episodes. I think I know who. There's someone that dies, and that person is Jason Stackhouse. I said it.
Dun, 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 dun. Do we know anything about their contracts?
No. But you didn't let me finish. I'm not done yet.
Okay.
Wait, there's more?
Yes.
But wait,
he's
But
dead.
wait, there's more.
Okay, he's dead, but he's not going away because
because he's a zombie.
no,
Okay.
Ooh, I like how you plugged it again.
not a zombie.
No, but why?
Even worse,
Even worse? That's
Ghost.
messed up.
Vampire.
a vampire.
No,
There's a
because
scene.
they made Terra vampire.
Let me explain it.
Okay.
Okay, when they were showing the preview, I freeze framed it because I told you I saw the second half of the East Coast feed.
Haha.
And he's in a tomb being buried with Jessica.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And they're both
I
laying
remember-
together.
I remember that image.
And he's got 2 puncture wounds in his throat. Blood's coming out.
Wait,
and
did you freeze frame on that to
I did
confirm that?
Yes, I did freeze frame
Oh,
on that.
snap.
And they're being buried. They're putting dirt on both of them. And you know when
like
someone's
when
being
you're a maker and a makee. Wow.
So,
no, I hope not.
I think it'll be great. Possible. Think of Jason the Vampire, Sookie a fairy.
She's like a fairy. She's like a vampire and a fairy.
What's that going to create for the upcoming rest of the season or for the rest of the series?
All right. Well,
And
we'll
the
see.
war
We'll
is
see.
coming.
The war is coming. Everybody, let us know what you think.
Definitely, guys. That's it, guys. We're getting the hook. So, Yerman, where can they find you, buddy?
Y'all can find me on Twitter at Yermangur, YERMANGUR.
And the lovely Roth.
You can find me at JRothC, JROTHC.
Nice. And you can find me at The Everyday Man. And you can find all of us at AfterBuzz TV. So for Marissa, Roth, Yerman, I'm JC. See you next time, guys. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
From Bing.com, executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.